Intelligence has long been seen as a passport that carries people to the highest levels of success. We often assume that people with quick minds solve problems more easily, learn faster, and live a life with fewer obstacles. However, behind excellent grades and impressive achievements, there is a reality that is rarely talked about. Intelligence is not simply the ability to calculate or remember. It is a complex psychological structure, where deep awareness can sometimes become a double-edged sword. People who have it often face quiet challenges, invisible barriers that others can hardly understand. Is intelligence truly a complete privilege, or does it come with its own kind of pressure that makes their journey feel lonely? Have you ever wondered whether you are one of them? In this video, we will go deep into 8 struggles that only highly intelligent people can truly understand, to see that intelligence by itself is a very challenging journey. 1. Getting tired of small talk. When people attend a party or enter a new workplace, most of them use topics like the weather, entertainment news, or small everyday stories to break the awkward silence. However, for a highly intelligent brain, these topics often feel empty and drain energy for no real reason. From the perspective of psychological science, this can be explained through need for cognition, also known as NFC. People with high NFC tend to seek, engage in, and enjoy complex mental effort. Their brains are wired to constantly look for stimulation, analyze patterns, and explore deeper meanings behind things. So when they have to take in surface-level information that lacks depth and offers no value for analysis, their brain automatically starts to shut down or lose focus. The result is quiet isolation. You do not mean to look down on other people or act superior to their everyday stories. The truth is simply that your brain cannot find an anchor in those conversations. However, in the eyes of the people around you, your lack of excitement or your silence can easily be misunderstood as arrogance, coldness, or being hard to approach. You crave conversations that touch ideas, philosophy, or the structure of things, but then you realize that not everyone is ready or even wants to enter that kind of mental space. This separation does not only affect the way you receive information, it also shapes the way you speak. And that leads to the second struggle, often being misunderstood because of slow responses. People often think intelligence means responding quickly. Ask a question and get an answer, handle every situation sharply. But in reality, the opposite can happen. When you receive a simple question, instead of giving an answer right away, you pause for a few seconds, or even stay silent for quite a while. This delay can easily make people misunderstand you as distracted, slow, or not knowing the answer. Science calls this deep cognitive processing. When receiving information or a question, highly intelligent people do not only look at the literal meaning on the surface. Your brain automatically activates an analytical network, considering the context of the question, predicting the motive of the person asking, evaluating possible variables, and anticipating misunderstandings that could come from your answer. You carefully weigh each word to make sure it is as accurate and objective as possible. Having a mind that thinks too quickly and in too many directions can sometimes create a delay when it comes to turning thoughts into language. You would rather stay silent and structure your thoughts logically than say something loose or one-sided. Unfortunately, in a society that values quick reactions and instant answers, this carefulness can become a communication weakness. Your long silence slows down the rhythm of the conversation, making the other person feel confused or think that you are too serious and rigid. Even though this carefulness helps you avoid logical mistakes, once you step into crowded social settings, this overly strict filtering process can unintentionally make you seem awkward. And this is the third struggle, feeling awkward in social communication. We often hear about the image of the socially awkward nerd in movies, and even though that is an exaggeration, it still reflects part of reality. You may be excellent at solving complex logic problems and creating sharp analytical strategies at work, but still feel awkward and unsure how to react naturally to a compliment, a joke, or an unexpected social situation. Psychologists, including researchers like Davidson, have pointed out a common paradox. A significant number of people with very high IQ, meaning logical intelligence, may also have average or lower EQ, meaning emotional intelligence. EQ is the ability to read emotions through the eyes, body language, understand unspoken social rules, and respond smoothly according to the emotions of the group. Because your brain is used to processing information based on logic, data, and cause and effect, You may struggle when dealing with human situations that are illogical, emotional, and hard to predict. For example, you might accidentally give advice that is too direct and too clearly based on facts, while the other person simply needs emotional comfort at that moment. You do not mean any harm. You are just solving the problem in the most efficient way your brain is programmed to. This mismatch in the way you decode information can easily place you in awkward situations, unintentionally hurt other people's feelings, and make you label yourself as strange in the eyes of the crowd. When you cannot fully fit in, you begin looking for deeper connections. But that leads you to the fourth struggle, finding it hard to make real friends. You may have many acquaintances, but very few people you can truly call close friends. This is a common state of isolation among people with exceptional intelligence. You may get along well at work, have a good time with coworkers during shared projects, but finding someone who can sit down with you, connect deeply, and share all the layers of thought inside your mind can feel like a difficult puzzle. The first psychological cause comes from the intimidation factor. People naturally tend to look for friends who share a similar background and similar way of thinking because that brings a sense of safety. Your sharp intelligence, careful analysis, and wide knowledge can sometimes unintentionally create invisible pressure on the people around you. Even if you never try to show off, others may still feel hesitant, afraid of being judged, or feel that they are not on the same level enough to maintain an equal relationship with you. The second cause comes from you. In psychology, the rule of similarity suggests that we need harmony in cognitive frequency to build long-lasting connection. An intelligent person needs a friend who can keep up with their thinking speed, understand multiple perspectives, and be willing to debate without taking things personally. Finding someone who meets all of these standards can feel like looking for a needle in a haystack. The isolation here is not physical. It is loneliness in the middle of a crowd. The feeling that no one truly understands the full language of your mind. When the effort to find a like-minded soul becomes exhausting, you begin to ask yourself, do I really need to try this hard? And from there, the fifth struggle appears: withdrawing and limiting social activities. When small talk becomes draining, when social interaction creates awkwardness, and when finding people who truly understand you becomes too difficult, the brain automatically activates a defense mechanism, choosing to retreat. Instead of spending energy on noisy weekend gatherings, crowded parties, or social events that bring no real value, you tend to choose staying home, diving into work, reading, researching, or pursuing personal interests. Psychologists explain this through the concepts of social battery and sensory processing sensitivity. People with high intellectual ability often receive and process more information from the environment, and they process it more deeply than usual. In a crowd, your brain does not only hear sounds, it also analyzes facial expressions, observes behavior, records different streams of opinion, and evaluates the context. This constant background processing quickly overloads your nervous system. The tiredness you feel after going out is not just physical tiredness, it is complete cognitive exhaustion. So when you choose to be alone, it is not a sign of laziness or social anxiety. It is a biological need to recharge your mind. However, the line between protecting your energy and fully isolating yourself is very thin. When you spend too much time inside the comfort zone of solitude, you may unintentionally cut off good opportunities to maintain balance in life. And even when you are alone, your mind still does not rest. It keeps spinning inside the sixth struggle, overanalyzing to the point of paralysis. The quietness on the outside is often just a cover hiding a storm inside the mind of an intelligent person. You may find it very hard to make quick decisions, whether it is a major decision like choosing a career path, or a small one, like replying to a work email, or deciding what to eat for dinner. Your brain always operates in a way that refuses to accept the first option that appears. In psychology, this state is clearly defined by the term analysis paralysis. It happens when the amount of input data is too large and your ability to simulate possible situations is too strong. When facing a decision, while other people only see option A and option B, your brain immediately creates options C, D, and E. Along with each option comes a chain of logical consequences, possible risks, and short-term and long-term benefits and losses. You get stuck in a loop of looking for the most perfect answer or the decision with the lowest risk. Multi-dimensional thinking turns into an invisible prison, delaying real action. Analyzing every corner of a problem consumes a huge amount of energy. This fatigue from analysis creates a very specific kind of inner isolation. You feel exhausted even before you have actually started doing anything, and very few people can understand why you make something look so complicated when it seems simple to them. The source of this endless analysis comes from the fact that your brain always craves new layers of meaning, and this leads to the seventh struggle. Your mind always needs stimulation. If muscles need movement so they do not weaken, then the mind of an intelligent person needs information, data, and logical challenges to stay alive. You may feel extremely restless, trapped, or even fall into a deep sense of boredom if you have to repeat the same routine work over and over again, or solve problems that already have a fixed pattern. This is the need for cognitive stimulation. The reward system in the brain of an intelligent person based on dopamine release works most strongly when they are exposed to something new, when they have to untangle a complex problem, or when they master a difficult skill. Once a problem is solved, your brain immediately closes the file and searches for a new horizon. The feeling of, I already know this, I already understand this, comes very quickly, making things that were once interesting turn into a boring burden. The struggle here is that you always have to race against your own mind to find food for it. This explains why many intelligent people often change jobs, switch hobbies, or join many projects at the same time. In the eyes of other people, this constant change may be judged as a lack of commitment or getting bored too easily. But in reality, it is the struggle of an intellect that refuses to become dull. You are lonely on the journey of setting new limits for yourself because very few people can walk with you at such a high and constant level of mental intensity. But that endless desire to explore is not everything. That high demand for mental ability, when combined with the gaze of the outside world, creates a heavy pressure on your shoulders. 8. The pressure to succeed. With grades like this, you'll definitely become a boss someday. Someone as smart as you should have no trouble with this problem. With your ability, everyone expects you to bring home the highest achievement. These statements may sound like encouraging compliments, but in reality, they become bricks that build a huge wall of pressure on the shoulders of intelligent people from the time they are young. According to researchers in educational psychology and behavior, people with high intelligence often face two parallel patterns: maladaptive perfectionism and imposter syndrome. Because society constantly labels you as smart and talented, you unconsciously set a life standard where failure is not allowed to exist. You believe your worth is tied to the perfection of your results. Any small mistake is magnified by your brain into proof that you are not good enough. You fear that one day people will discover that you are not as capable as they think, and that your achievements only came from luck. This pressure forces you to hide your weaknesses, the times when you do not know the answer, and the moments when you fall down. The isolation reaches its peak when you do not dare to share your struggles with anyone because society always assumes smart people will know how to solve everything on their own. You carry the expectations of the world, but you have to bandage your own psychological wounds alone. Intelligence is clearly not a magic spell that solves every problem in life. As we have analyzed, behind a sharp mind are very real psychological challenges. From feeling out of place in conversations, to being overloaded by analysis, to the huge pressure of perfection and the risk of isolating yourself. However, if you see yourself in these 8 struggles, please remember this. The different way you perceive the world is not a disease that needs to be cured. The isolation you feel does not come from something being wrong with you. It is simply the result of seeing the world in a higher resolution than most people. Intelligence is a powerful tool, not the only measure of your worth as a human being. Becoming aware of these psychological barriers is the first step toward mastering it. Instead of forcing yourself to change just to fit into a society that values surface-level things, learn to set healthy boundaries. Allow yourself to rest from expectations, accept the unavoidable flaws of being human, and patiently search for small circles of connection that share the same mental frequency. You are not alone in your difference. You are simply thinking more deeply, and that journey deserves understanding from yourself first. Thank you for watching this video. If these analyses touched some part of your own experience, share your story in the comments, because maybe someone out there